Hello, I'm Kimberly Crum, Women United Advisory Council member and Mission and Volunteerism Subcommittee Chairperson. Currently, the Chief Human Resources Officer for Pinellas County Government. I've worked in the government sector for over 14 years and seen up close the many struggles within our community. Women United is an affinity group of United Way Suncoast who support initiatives that ensure every person in our community has the opportunity to achieve their full potential. Here are some highlights from our recent event, Good in the Neighborhood.
Peer relationships are very important in our community, and we want to make sure that our students can actually learn from each other. So many of our high school students who've been through the middle school classes serve as tutors, serve as mentors. They serve as peer mentors, and they actually help each other with homework. And then we also have the great component of working with the adults who come in for their various services. And we even have a focus on seniors, where we work with a lot of them, just helping them access some of the resources that they may need in the community and also abroad.
Our services are synonymous, especially with Sulphur Springs Resource Center. Our services are geared to those who are at least 16 years and older to provide that level of implementation of financial stability, workforce development, and economic resources. Anything that will stabilize a family, we want to make sure that we do it. It is our vision at Campbell Park Resource Center that as persons walk in our doors, it would become a one-stop shop. If there's something that we may not be able to do here, we want to make sure that we're connected to other partners to make sure that our families and our residents can go and be advantageous in whatever area that may be, whether that is job creation, whether there's entrepreneurial skills, whether that is financial stability, whether that's educational enhancement. We want to walk with them and do life with all of our residents.
Yeah, I love that, doing life with those in the community. Let's talk a little bit about financial stability. How does your resource center provide services in that key pillar?
All right, so within financial stability in Sulphur Springs and at some of the other resource centers alike, we are all actually Access certified. So if anybody comes into one of our centers and needs to apply for public benefits, be it food stamps, Medicaid, whatever the case may be, we're all certified and are able to walk through life, like Dr. Jeffrey Johnson said, or through that particular application from beginning to end, if they have any questions or concerns. Additionally, in Sulphur Springs, we've got 2 full-time case managers that are able to work with families in addressing whatever needs come up, but then also setting both short and long-term goals with them. So while we do provide financial assistance, we're not just putting Band-Aids on issues. We're there to provide that foundation and give that hand up, not that hand out, as they say. Additionally, other services we provide are free copying, notary services, faxing. We've got food distributions. And then also we have year-round tax preparation, VITA, through United Way Suncoast, a great program that helps save a lot of our residents money through tax preparation. And then last but not least, as Mr. Ricky mentioned in the video, we also have first-time home buyers classes provided quarterly. This was all before COVID, obviously. A lot of the services are still provided, but just in a more modified or virtual sense at this point.
And at the North Greenwood site, we do many of the things that they have at the Sulphur Springs Resource Center site. However, we also have additional things. We also focus on workforce development. We actually work with persons to do resumes, help them do job searches. We also work with our young people, helping them getting their first job, helping them understand what saving is, helping them do interviewing skills. And we work with our adults for that. We also do some screenings with them to make sure they understand, even doing the tests that many places have for them to do. We've also offered certification programs. We also have gotten persons with CPR first aid. You may think, oh, well, it's just CPR first aid. For many, that is the key to them getting a job and for maintaining a job for many places. And we offer that free for many of our residents. We also have had a hair braiding certification class where we had our students get licensed by the state of Florida, where they're now able to go work in hair salons as licensed braiding technicians. So they're actually able to do that. But it's nothing like seeing a young person come in and say, Miss Paula, I got the job. And now it's like, okay, how do we save money and how do you actually splurge a little bit on yourself? So we work with them to do that in addition to the resources that Eduardo has mentioned.
In fashion with Eduardo and Paula, one of the great things is that we have the opportunity to provide some of the same services, and that serves as a great connector if you know persons that are in different squadrons of the Bay Area, they can refer persons to Sulphur Springs, North Greenwood, or to the Campbell Park Resource Center. We're very fortunate to have a full-time navigator on staff that will help with financial stability, to help with our last resort funding through Publix, to assist with lights and water, down payment assistance on rental properties that persons may have. But one of the key things with that, in order for a person to receive those type of dollars, they must take a financial stability workshop, in which we partner with several of our bank-owned partners to provide that service every week. So in addition to that, persons have the opportunity to have budgeting, credit opportunities, and we have an MOU with Neighborhood Home Solutions, in which they help with credit repair and first-time home buyers programs. As Ed said and Paula said, we're all access partners with the Department of Children and Families, and we try to make sure that we're maximizing those opportunities to even go into the workforce development. We have a full-time workforce development director here that assists with career development, interviewing skills, job creation, and we have a once a month job fair with many of our community partners, in which they come into now a virtual sense. All of our persons who are interested in job development, who are underemployed or unemployed, they can be a part of those workforce job fairs every month.
Wow, that's impressive. You know, what a 360 degree view of financial stability provided at the centers. Thank you for that. You know, Eduardo mentioned COVID, and certainly this year has been a very unusual year. I'm wondering how things have changed at the resource centers during the pandemic from the time it's begun until now.
So COVID has definitely forced us all to kind of have to pivot and adjust. But thanks to our wonderful leadership and the great team that we have, we were able to quickly pivot and then meet the needs of our communities. One of the recurring themes at all of our centers is meeting people where they are, or like Dr. Johnson mentioned, doing life with people. So after we were forced to shut down in late March, we quickly implemented strategies where we were placing phone calls to all residents that visited the resource centers over the last 3 months before we closed, just to check in, see if they have any questions, concerns, and also directly connecting them with COVID-related relief dollars. Our CI team, our community impact team, they led a pot of dollars that were distributed out into the community, and we're able to directly connect families to those dollars in the community. In addition, we've been in Sulphur Springs having weekly food distributions. To date, we've distributed over 11,000 meals since April. We've also quickly pivoted and are providing case management virtually, as well as lawyer time virtually. There's a lot of landlord-tenant issues right now, as well as folks that are having concerns with their employer or things similarly to that.
At the North Greenwood site, we also had to do a quick pivot. However, working with teenagers, we had to do some things that were just a little different. As we started our food distribution sites, many of our young people found out we were open. As we were doing that, the volunteers during the summer for our distribution were teenagers. They came out. They actually worked. One of the organizations in the community, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, came out as one our adult leaders, and then our youth came out. The parents were like, this is a safe place to go. So our young people were able to come out and work with us during the summer. After school started, we actually began to work with our young people in a new way of opening early at 7:15 in the morning, so that way we would be a place for many of our high school students who were maybe having internet connectivity problems. Parents had to go run errands, but didn't want to leave that teen home alone, you know, that thing. So they would like allow them to come up. So we actually have been a site for them to come use computers, have access to internet, have access to printing. Many of the classes still have them print items. So they would actually be able to come up, print the schoolwork. In addition, we've actually partnered with PIMS to provide COVID cares, where we have caseworkers who come in, monitor, and work with families to make sure they have all the paperwork so they can actually work with some of those dollars to get that assistance, because COVID has hit many families hard. We have been doing faxing and notary because those services don't stop for families. And to have someone come in and have 40 pages because they're just trying to solidify some benefits and we're able to save them those dollars is financial stability at its best. And so as we continue to make families stable, those are some things we've been able to do during COVID.
Kimberly, you ask, what have we done? And I think one thing you will hear from all of us is that we've all had to be innovative to make sure that our creative ideas were working systematically for the residents that we serve. Whether Ed or Paula and myself, we've all had very harmonious conversations about what could we do to pivot what we've done to make sure our residents are not lacking in anything. So all of our services are available virtual, but with us at the Campbell Park Resource Center, persons are available to come in by appointment basis only. Everything else that we do, we've found that way to make sure that we provide that virtually. One thing in particular with us, we're a partner with Feeding Tampa Bay to provide a school pantry. That school pantry is specifically designed for families and workers of schools that are in the South St. Petersburg area. Because of the pandemic and because South St. Petersburg is a food desert, during the summer, we work with Feeding Tampa Bay to bring a large mobile distribution each week to the community held at Johns Hopkins Middle School. And so we had at least a minimum of 15 volunteers to come every week from the Sheriff's Department, for the Fire Department, from Pinellas County Schools. Some elected officials will come every week. We will sort food and we will give food to at least 250 families. Now that school has started back, we're still doing the same thing. Before the pandemic, before COVID, our food distribution for the school distribution will be about 30 to 40 families a week. Now we're averaging still 260 families to make sure those needs are still met. So innovation will be the word. We all had to think about what could we do to provide the same resources at the same level in which we provided before the pandemic, even now, to make sure our residents know that we haven't gone away. We've just amplified what we do to make it better and more convenient.
Wow, what a testimony to your not only innovation, but your agility in being able to pivot quickly and make sure that families are cared for in your area. What are some of the general community outreach services that the resource centers provide so that folks in the community know you're there?
Some of the services that we provide in Sulphur Springs, like I alluded to earlier, are case management. We've got food distributions weekly. We've got virtual lawyer time. Pre-COVID, we would have 2 community events, usually one in the fall and one in the spring, where we would invite nonprofit providers as well as neighborhood residents to come out and learn about the different services provided, learn about different kinds of opportunities, be it employment, educational, or whatever the case may be. And then lastly, we're also, as a neighborhood team, in the middle of a strategic planning process where once again, we're going to get the pulse of the community, what their wants and needs are, and then strategically build our plan for at least the next 5 years accordingly.
And the general services that we've done for outreach have been simple. One, word of mouth. You may think word of mouth is one of the cheapest ways to get information out, but as we continue to inform persons who are in need, working with Clearwater Police Department, who they actually have been great advocates to let people know if you need a service, we know that something's wrong with your electric, go to the resource center. Working with our partners just to share information that we're open, just for faxing, just for notary, just for copying. In addition, we also do the outreach programs that Eduardo mentioned, do 2 to 3 a year. And we also have our young people out doing things. We've painted raindrop paintings on sidewalks just to beautify the community. Doing bus trips is nothing like taking a group of teenagers on the city bus just so they can actually learn the system. And people wonder, like, why is she with all these teenagers? On purpose. So we want to make sure that our young people learn the system and we're able to share information there. But we also have partnerships with St. Petersburg College, with the school district, and many of the agencies there that we want to make sure that people know that there are resources there and they're free.
One of the things that we've done, because we are very fortunate to be connected to 3 educational institutions, Johns Hopkins Middle School, Melrose Elementary School, and Campbell Park Elementary School, we've utilized the space that we have, car circles in the morning as well as the afternoon, to share that word, to give out literature, to let persons know what we do, as well as our food distribution that we will give information out. Yesterday, we started at 11 o'clock. Before we started, there were 75 cars waiting in line. food services. And so that's an opportunity for us to give out information as well. On site, we have several partners, as Paula and Eduardo said, that we have lawyer time and we have financial stability and navigation services, as well as workforce development. But one thing that I would like to say in particular about that, in the previous years, in 2019 and 2018, we compiled together all of our community partners to come together with a community showcase to let the community know what resources are available. When we started doing our partnership with Campbell Park Resource Center in 2018, we started with 4 partners, and those were the partners that were housed here. And now we've gone to have 40 partners working with the Campbell Park Resource Center. And that's a way of letting the community know that this is a way that partners can come together to convene together, that we serve one particular purpose, and that is for the residents to have the best stability that they can have. So that is a great thing that we do to provide outreach to the community through the partnerships that we work through.
Well, that was a mouthful as well. You all are to be commended for your ingenuity in making sure that folks know what you have to offer. Some really creative ideas there. You know, everyone loves a good story, and sometimes that's the best way to convey the work that's being done. Do any of you have a story about services that you've provided that have made a real impact?
Absolutely. About 6 or 7 years ago, we had a client come in. This was before I was at the resource center, but still with United Way. We had a client come in. She was very distraught, was having issues with maintaining gainful employment. Either there were personality differences or was just having issues finding the right fit. So at that point, she decided that she was going to be her own boss and start her own business. We were able to, at the time, meet with her, set up meetings, get her business plan set up, to the point where she set up her own landscaping and home repair business. And to this day, she's actually the person that landscapes the facility at Sulphur Springs Resource Center. I'll say her name because she wouldn't mind, Ms. Marva Jones, great resident, and at this point, she's absolutely family.
And at the North Greenwood Resource Center site, because we work with teens, of course, I have a great story for a teenager. We have a young lady right now. She's going into her senior year at the University of Florida. You may think, oh, it's just a school. But for her, it is a great accomplishment. She was a young lady who started our program in Operation Graduate through our dual enrollment program. She met me one day on the bus as we were doing a field trip to one of the local businesses so that young people could actually learn not just that a place is an accounting firm, but know that they have marketing, they have secretaries, they have accountants, they have all those things. But as she was there, she's like, I need a mentor. And as I was beginning to work with her that day, she said, Ms. Paula, I want you to be my mentor. And I'm like, okay, what we doing? So she was able to apply to colleges. She was a young lady whose parents had not been to college. And so for her, this was big. And so we actually worked to apply for every scholarship. She was always diligent with, okay, I'm applying. She applied to 8 different colleges in the state of Florida and got offered every school. But her dream school was the one that came in last, and that was the University of Florida. And of course, as a young lady whose parents were Alice clients, as we in that category, how are you going to afford to go to University of Florida? We were able to work to get scholarships locally, but as she got her financial aid form, and I looked at it and it said parent student contribution $1,200. And I'm like, that's all you have to pay. And she had over $10,000 in scholarships outside of school. But the University of Florida offered her enough scholarships to go to college, and she is still there going for free. We were even able to work with her because she wants to be a doctor. One of my gifts to her for graduation was a Barbie doll, the Dr. Barbie doll, and for her to keep it before her daily. So she remembered, this is your goal, to be a doctor. And as she was able to go there, we were able to get her a CNA certification. So that way during the summers, she would actually be able to work as a CNA in a hospital to get those connections. And now she even works while she's in school, working with a client as a CNA, and cool job. She actually does respite care with a young lady and for that family. And so she's able to do her homework, and she works with her person. She reads her homework to them to actually keep her grades up in school.
I don't know about Ed, but Paula, I think we both want a doll or something with a suit on and a tie, and so we can look at and inspire us every day. Great question, Kimberly. In 2017, United Way Suncoast in the Campbell Park area acquired a 800 square foot trailer in which was our financial stability center. And over the last 2 years, we worked really hard to move from that 800 square foot trailer to a 10,000 square foot facility to where we're able to provide the services that we provide for the community. But I remember there was a young lady that will come to our trailer. It is packed with our partners on site, and she would come and sit in the lobby. She would even answer the phone for us. She was unemployed. She would catch the bus to us, Lankea. I can just remember her coming. She would get on the computer. She knew where the laptops were. She will fill out applications. We will walk her through workforce development skills, and she got the job that she wanted. Now, fast forward a year and a half later, we're in this nice, huge facility. She called back last week to say, thank you so much for helping her get the job. Now she's the director at Humana. She's worked her way up in a year and a half, and she's asking how can her staff employees come and volunteer at the center. That's the reason why we wake up every day to do what we do. If we can impact one person to change their life, they will bring others to the center. And so all of us have those success stories and how we really change the pulse and just give someone the hope and the reassurance that they need that life is not over for you. You can do whatever you want to do. So that is my success story. When someone can come back and say, this is what I've done, how can I bring other people to be a benefit to what you have going on in the community?
Wow, I love the stories. What passion you guys show in telling them, and the full circle moments, you know, folks who start in one place in life, but really can really grow into what great outcomes that you shared with us. So thank you so much. I wonder, what is your vision for your center at this point?
My personal vision for the Sulphur Springs Resource Center is, Dr. Johnson alluded to it earlier, we're all one-stop shops where residents or clients can come in and utilize our services, would be to continue to build upon that, and then also maybe branch out and build on those connections and partnerships and be able to impact more families. And also a place where anybody could come to find financial stability services, be it a resident, a client, or even a community leader, where they can come in and leverage those skills like Dr. Johnson alluded to with Humana wanting to come back and volunteer and provide their expertise or volunteer time for the community.
And the North Greenwood Center in Clearwater is similar to what Eduardo just stated. We want to continue to grow our impact on the community, working with the families, having persons come in just to get services, even working with our young people to get opportunities for them to be able to have job experiences. You may think that summer job doesn't mean a lot, but if many of us can think of, if it hadn't been for the summer job, I wouldn't have my career path, someone showing me how to work, and that way we're building our future with our young people. And in addition to that, we want to make sure that anyone that comes in, we have certification classes, that persons can not only get a job, but get a better job, get a raise, because we know that those little things under skills and experiences show a lot when a person goes in looking for a position.
I know it's impossible to do everything and be everything for everyone. But my vision for Campbell Park Resource Center, as we've all stated, to be a one-stop shop, but to be that place where the community comes to thrive and flourish. If a person walks in and they have no idea of where they're going intellectually or workforce development wise, they can walk in. Our team are trained to have substantive conversations with people and to help them walk in the clouds. I like to say walk in the clouds. We want you to have a vision for your life. We want you to begin to think about where do you go from here and help them with the steps. And if we can't do it, we have the partnership to work with someone to get it done. So we want them to come in and see themselves in a place far better than where they are right now, to say, I can do this. So that's my vision. It is all encompassing, and I don't want to be presumptuous, but I want us to be that one-stop shop. I want us to be that core of social services and community agencies that begins to thread all of our social programs and partners together, to say that there is one place in our city where clients and residents can go. That can be Campbell Park Resource Center. If they can't help you, no one can. And we want to be able to help everyone that comes through our doors.
Well, the communities you serve are so lucky to have you and the resources of the United Way behind you. This has been really informative. And I know for our participants who are watching, many of them have a desire to likely get involved. We have community leaders and budding community leaders with us. So what would you invite them, how would you invite them to participate in the mission of your centers?
In Sulphur Springs, there are 3 ways you can get involved. First is volunteering, either through our food distributions, or you can help sort and or distribute meals. And then additionally, through financial coaching. There's always a need for financial coaches, and you don't have to have a financial background to become a financial coach. You just have to have the heart and the time and the want to meet people where they are and help them. Secondly is referrals. So be it friends, family, somebody you came across that just needs that answer to whatever question may be. Like Dr. Johnson said, if we don't know the answer, we probably know somebody that does. It's kind of like the running joke between all of us at all of our centers. And then last but not least, also giving to United Way. These are all United Way funded programs. Your dollars go directly to implement programs and impact families on a daily basis.
And I want to say ditto to what Eduardo stated. Those are some of the same resources and things that we need at our center. We thank you for your gifts that you give to United Way, because without your gifts, we would not be able to do what we do every day to impact the community. So this is a team effort from all of us. Those who give, those who work at the sites to impact our community. In addition, I would just say volunteering on any of the ways that Eduardo has mentioned, and continue just to give referrals for people that you know, people you work with, family members that they may share with you. Those are some of the persons who come in, that it may be someone that works somewhere and their coworker's brother may need some assistance, and we're there for that. And we want to make sure that persons know it doesn't matter how you come in, but when you leave, we want to make sure you're at least laughing and smiling, knowing that tomorrow will be brighter.
I echo what Eduardo said and what Paula said about being connected through volunteering, our food distribution, financial coaching, referrals, telling someone about us, and bringing somebody with you to the center, as well as giving. Everything that we do is because of the generous support of partners that are in alignment with our vision and mission at United Way Suncoast. And that's the greatest thing. I would suggest and encourage all of you to visit a center, to allow us to give you a tour and share more with you, give you a more intimate approach of how we got started and what we plan to do for the future. And then that allows you to say, I'm walking in the footsteps of this particular resource center, and you become more engaged to see what you can do. And then we'll talk about where your talent is, what your passion is, and how we can get you more suitably developed into our volunteering system at our individual locations and resource centers.
You know, thank you for that invitation, Dr. Johnson. I have to say, I had the opportunity to visit Eduardo's Center in Sulphur Springs the summer before COVID, when you were doing an outdoor fair. And man, was it high energy, and was there something for everyone? It was such a great mix of vendors who were there touting what they do for the community, and it was just an amazing time. So I echo, Dr. Johnson, your invitation. So thank you.
We have several questions that have come in from our audience today, including what is the most requested neighborhood service you provide and the #1 need in your neighborhood?
In Sulphur Springs, the most requested service and number one need are probably synonymous, and that's affordable housing, which is probably a more of a regional or geographic need, but absolutely the lack of affordable housing combined with landlord-tenant issues are some of the more prevalent needs. And then also employment. I neglected to mention it at the onset of me speaking, but we do also provide employment services, and it's not just for people that don't have a job, but you just might be underemployed, or you need that next step or that boost to take that next leap in your career.
And I will echo what Eduardo stated. Employment is probably one of our biggest needs, that persons come in looking for a job that works with their family needs, as we all try to make sure that if you have children, you're home and you're available for them. And also for our teens, finding that first job that is close. We know that transportation is always an issue. So as we're working with our adults and our young people, we try to make sure that we work with them on that transportation model so that they're ready when they do get that yes for that employment, and they can get home safely and get there to do things that do not cost them a lot. We know there's so many other variety of ways to travel, but we also know that sometimes if you have to travel during those peak hours, those costs for those Lyfts and Ubers kind of go and double up. So that doesn't help many of our young people and many of the persons who are just getting that first job.
Because the cost of living is rising in St. Petersburg, some of the greatest needs in this area does become financial assistance and food. With the rising cost of living in the area, the job market and the rate of pay is remaining the same, but the expenses are increasing, especially during COVID, and families who may have e-learning with their students at home. Their grocery bill is going up and up and up. And so we're seeing that there's a greater need for financial assistance for those who are working, but they need additional help as well as the food resources. So at this moment in time, in the midst of the pandemic, those are two of the greatest resources that are needed for our communities.
It looks like we have a couple more in the chat. This one is directed at you, Paula. Does the Clearwater Resource Center offer programs for the elderly?
Yes, we do. And that is a great question. We think many of the elderly are home and enjoying themselves, but what we're finding, some of the needs for our elderly are definitely the food. So our food distributions definitely help with our elderly. We also work with them if they're having to do things on the computer. I have one beautiful lady that comes in and I'm her technician for her phone to make sure she can access things on her phone. In addition, we also are able to log in to help them, whether it's with medical things, working with over-the-counter drugs through their insurance, helping them find a variety of resources that may be landlord-tenant issues as they're looking for homes. And some of them are even still looking for employment. So we definitely have those resources there, and even helping them with access. So we work with them on the regular basis. So yes, we do welcome the seniors in, and we think they're amazing.
I agree with that. We have another question from our audience that is asking if you guys could share a little bit more on your personal story and what brought you to get involved with United Way. And I know, Ms. Paula, you were just sharing some great stories with Kimberly about what got you involved, and actually with Women United, when Women United got founded several years ago. So if each of you guys could share about that as well.
Absolutely. So I'm actually the first person in my family to graduate from college. I came to Tampa in 2007 to go to college at USF. I got my bachelor's and my master's in public health. So my passion has been and always will be helping people. Coming to United Way was just a natural fit. And as the years went on and I've gotten closer to the work now at the resource centers, I couldn't be happier as it relates to be able to just impact lives on a daily basis and putting my skill set to use every day.
And myself, I actually work for one of the nonprofits that's funded through United Way. So it was already a connection there. And we actually were part of the program of summer care. And so from the opportunity kind of opened at United Way, and I was like, I want to go to the other side of the table and be able to help families and help agencies, because I know being on the side of receiving funds, that is a greater impact when you can help many more. And from there, I was able to join this great organization and work in a variety of things, working with all the resource centers at one point, to now, just working with North Greenwood and really seeing the impact hands-on and having that day-to-day contact with individuals.
Interesting enough, I was volunteering about 12 years ago with a middle school in Tampa, Florida, and I was nominated as the United Way Tampa Bay at that time Volunteer of the Year. That was my first introduction once I received that award from United Way. My reintroduction to United Way was in 2016 with our former CEO, Suzanne McCormick. I was putting together some things for, I was working for a pop star that was doing some work in Tampa. I don't have to mention the name, and met Suzanne McCormick with that. And we kind of followed one another. I'm sorry about that. Followed one another with our community development. And she said, there's some programming in Campbell Park in South St. Petersburg. Would you be willing to be a part of that? And I said, why not? I was a professor at that time, but it allowed me to expand my community outreach and to give back as well.
That wasn't a partnership that you had, Dr. Johnson, with Beyonce. Is that right?
That's correct.
Oh, lovely, lovely. We have another question from our audience. How do people in the community usually find out about the neighborhood centers?
That's a fantastic question. And the truthful and honest answer is word of mouth. One of the things we always talk about is meeting people where they are, but with that it comes the respect, the warmth, the empathy. There's such a big difference in if somebody asks you a question, you pointing, as opposed to just getting up and walking them through whatever that may be it an application, be it a question on a survey, whatever the case may be. But continuing to meet people where they are and treating people right and with respect serves as our biggest form of advertisement. Just about on a weekly basis, I get somebody that comes in and said, hey, my neighbor or my friend told me that I could come here and you guys would be able to help me do X, Y, Z.
I will agree with it, Porto. Word of mouth. I had a lady come in the other day, and while she was sitting there, one of the students was working, and she says, aren't you so-and-so's grandbaby? And she said, yes, ma'am. And so she was able to actually tell her, she's like, I just told her I was coming up here. And she says, that's where my granddaughter goes every day. She just asked for Miss Paula. And so just the word of mouth and leaving people with the experience, even if we cannot help them get what they actually need at that moment, we're helping them with something else, and even helping them to leave with just a sigh of relief that there is something out there, that they're not alone. Someone heard their struggle. They heard what they were going through. And many times, as we all are in our own lives, sometimes we just want someone to listen. And to be an ear is a whole lot better than being a mouth sometimes for many of the families that we serve, because they just need someone to talk to and someone that won't judge them for where they are, but seeing how they can help them get to where they're going.
I would say word of mouth, as everyone else has said, as well as organic conversation. As you're talking with persons and you're hearing about some of their needs, even though I'm in St. Petersburg, I've talked to persons in Tampa and other parts, and I would send them over to North Greenwood or Sulphur Springs. And that's another way of recirculating those persons who need our services. It's just more or less being a listening ear to find out what people need. We're not saviors. We're here to walk, as I stated earlier, to do life with our residents. And we want them to know that there's someone that will serve as an advocate for their stability and for their family. So word of mouth, as well as having organic conversations.
Thank you, panelists, for sharing from the heart about your experience working in the resource centers. Thank you for what you're doing every day. Our conversation with you today, I'm sure, has you've earned our respect, our admiration, and we're very excited to have had the time to spend with you today to hear more about how we can help in the community support your efforts. Thank you to our participants today for carving out time to be with us and to learn about what's going on in your community and how you can help. Women United is a network of women in leadership positions that give their time, talent, and treasure to support the important work going on with the United Way. We host a number of programs annually to encourage important conversations about women's leadership, community issues, as well as volunteering in a variety of ways. Our next opportunity to meet is going to be on December 4th, 8:30 in the morning until 10 a.m. It's a leadership breakfast that is sponsored by Vice Rodriguez Case. And we're really looking forward to that. So if you are in our address list, you should receive information about that. And we hope that you'll join us. The next thing that's going to happen as we conclude is you're going to receive a survey link. These surveys help us determine programming and what folks in the community, what community leaders want to see. So if you have just a moment, it's a very short survey and we appreciate your participation in it. Thank you so much for being here today.